Ling Han is here. She's a powerful Frost Main DPS who is equally powerful off-field. Let's see just what she adds to the Frost meta by looking through her kit, advancements, matrices, and doing DPS calculations. Ling Han's trait increases final damage by 18%, with 2.5% extra frost damage per frost weapon equipped. Additionally, when running triple frost, you will gain 350 weapon charge when using any skill, on top of doing a large amount of bonus damage when any skill or discharge is used aside from that of Ling Han. This is a very powerful trait, and enables a quick swaps playstyle, which we'll dive into later. Her weapon passive is similar to Zeke, dealing damage per second after casting her skill, contributing roughly 2 to 4% total damage. Ling Han is a competitive main DPS, and her on-field DPS at A0 can almost compare to that of A6 Yulan, not including the skill damage. Her auto attacks stack a dot as well, ramping up to 8 seconds. Her strongest combo is her hold attack. Yes, she's literally a Frost Mimi. Her skill deals a small amount of damage with a long cast time, but triggers a dot and a number of other effects. Every 7.5 seconds, a Frost Blade is shot out, dealing skill damage and applying another dot. You don't need to sit through the whole animation. As soon as your character begins to point the sword, the skill has been executed. Finally, her discharge deals quite a significant amount of damage, but it has an equally significant cast time, making it cancel-worthy in certain comps. It comes with a frost damage buff, however, but you can cancel the discharge after roughly 1 second and still get some of the damage as well as this 30-second buff. In terms of shatter and charge, she doesn't excel at either. Her charge is abysmally slow, and her shatter is equally mediocre, despite having an SS rating.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
Like Faisa, she also comes with some flying utility. If you don't mind looking silly, you can press your hotkey for eating food as you jump, making you fly extremely fast while T-posing. Forget Ling Han. Now we've Ling Han. What a way to assert dominance. That covers her kit. Next are the advancements. For advancements, we'll compare the relative value of each advancement in 3 different team comps. A Yulan Main DPS comp with Fiona, and then a support Yulan comp with Fiona, and finally, a triple frost comp with Icarus and support Yulan. Her A1 gives you a frost attack buff and applies a dot effect for 30 seconds after launching a frost blade. It's worth a decent chunk in all teams, but the passive damage is relatively a larger percent of damage in the main DPS comps. Next is her A3, which increases the temperature reduction dot, increases frost blades per skill to 4, and causes every other frost blade to do a large amount of skill damage, but removes the aforementioned dot in between blades. As such, this advancement isn't worth as much damage as you might think. Her A5 increases the damage from the cold air dot, as well as the crystalline crack dot, by 50%. Both of these effects are a fairly low value to begin with. To put this into perspective, crystalline crack increasing by 50% is around a 5% gain for her as a main DPS. So this advancement has a low value, but obviously is the most valuable for the Linghan Main DPS comp. This advancement also gives you up to 10 light steps up from 2, allowing you to get around much easier. Finally, her A6 applies a large amount of AoE skill damage with every pulse blade, as well as making the temperature reduction effect AoE. This adds a good amount of damage in all teams. Compared to Yulan, the value of her advancements is much more tame. Advancements are worth the least, relatively in the Triple Frost comp, which already has a lot of very high base damage. We'll dive more into it in the comparison section. Next, let's talk about Matrices. Her 2-piece increases all elemental damage and deals additional damage per Frostblade, working in the offhand. Her 4-piece increases final damage for 30 seconds after using any Frost Discharge. It also gives a passive 12% attack when using her weapon. How do her matrices compare to others? Let's look at a table for the on-field values of matrices, using the Linghan Main DPS comp as a base reference. Her matrix is roughly the same power as Yulan's. A 3-star main DPS set, like Samir Shiro, is still competitive with a 0-star limited set when competing for the on-field slot, however. When comparing the off-field slots, her matrices offer a big improvement over F2B options, though come fairly close to soggy 3-star matrices, if you happen to have those. Assuming you don't already have 2 limited matrix sets already, her matrices are recommended over advancements if going for a Triple Frost setup, but roughly on par with the value of advancements in the other teams. Speaking of teams, let's dig into Teamcomps next. We'll focus on the same Teamcomps we covered in the advancement section. A Yulan Main DPS team with Fiona, a Linghan Main DPS team with Yulan support and Fiona, and a Triple Frost team with Icarus and Yulan. Let's start out with the Linghan Main DPS team. We'll use Sweeping Yulan and Fiona here as supports, though you can replace Fiona or Yulan with Break, Alice, or Zeke for slightly lower results. We use Linghan, Yulan, and Fiona matrices here. For Fiona's first skill, Torrential Force is necessary to get the charge required for the rotation. If you have 1.6 mil health, use Wellspring and Linghan's trait. Otherwise, use Hydro Focus and Fiona's trait. The Elastic Heart A3 and Overdrive Shot are ideal, though Claude 2 and Omnium Shield A5 are suitable replacements for either slot. For Titan stats, normal attack is ideal, though skill damage comes fairly close. Start out with Yulan's discharge and skill, followed by that of Fiona, and then that of Linghan. For the first rotation only, you can cancel Linghan's discharge after 1 second. Use her hold attack until roughly 12 seconds are left on her cooldown, and then repeat the rotation with Yulan's discharge. In the second rotation and subsequent rotations, you can let Linghan's discharge go off, as all the buffs should be ticking. With Yulan Main DPS, we run Fiona as a support, though Alice, Break, or even Zeke can work in this spot instead. We'll use the respective matrices here, Yulan, Linghan, and Fiona. Wellspring and Maelstrom are the preferred Fiona skills, alongside Yulan's trait. For relics, we use the Lassicart and Overture Shot. Run skill damage on your Titan stats for maximum damage. Start out with Ling Han's Discharge, cancelling after 1 second and then casting her skill. Cancel her skill when it resolves for a quick auto attack to get a free dot and Yulan stack, and then use Fiona's skill and discharge. Switch to Yulan and do her dodge to auto combo and immediately use her skill with the 3 stacks you get her buff up. Continue her dodge to auto combo and use a 5 stack skill when available, and continue DPSing until Maelstrom has around 7 seconds left, and then repeat the rotation with Linghan's Discharge. Note that you still need to manage stacks well with Yulan. Ideally, you'll want to use them after Maelstrom has ramped up, but before Wellspring drops off. If you manage this properly, you should never overcap stacks. Finally, let's look at a Triple Frost comp. Here, we use Sweeping Yulan and Icarus. For Matrices, we'll use Linghan, Yulan, and Icarus. However, Claudia Matrices are also a viable choice here in place of Icarus. The damage might be a bit lower, but the rotation will be more smooth. We'll use the Lassicart and Omnium Shield as relics, and Linghan's trait. As you might imagine, skill damage is the optimal Titan stat here. Start out with Linghan's skill, followed by Yulan's discharge and skill. Discharge to Icarus, instantly cancel it, and use his skill and 2 follow-up skills. From here on out, we'll be doing a 1-2-3-2 alternation. Discharge to Linghan, then Icarus, then Yulan, then Icarus again, then repeat. Use Linghan's skill whenever it's up, but at some points in the rotation, you'll be stuck on Linghan with only half a charge bar. In this case, you'll need to use Linghan's hold attack to buy time as you wait for her skill to come off cooldown to continue the rotation. In a Claudia Matrix comp, you won't ever have to wait for the skill cooldown, but sometimes you'll need to auto a couple of times for the bit of charge. Let's now dive into comparisons, starting with Linghan's comps. Here's a chart to compare the damage potential between the different team comps with a variable advancement of Linghan. Note that this is without matrices. With A0 Linghan, Triple Frost is actually the strongest in terms of raw potential. Linghan Main DPS is surprisingly close to Yulan Main DPS even at A0. At A6, all the comps roughly match the same potential, but Yulan Main DPS is the strongest by a little bit. However, when matrices are in play, Yulan Main DPS will be slightly weaker due to not utilizing Fiona's 4-piece to the same efficiency as the Linghan comp. What if you have both Yulan and Linghan at A0? Which one is more worth getting advancements in? Unsurprisingly, if you don't have either of them invested in, it's better to invest in Linghan, as Yulan's advancements don't add too much in sweeping form. Finally, what if you have Yulan and Fiona already invested in? How does Linghan compare to other options? She's just better. In all cases except if you have an A6 Alice, in which case you'll need an A1 Linghan for a damage gain. It is what it is. How does she stack up to the rest of the meta? Here's a theoretical TPM chart with maximum investment and relics. The red bar represents the bonus from Fiona Execute, and the yellow is relative gain versus 45% resistance. The two Linghan Fiona comps are a good deal stronger than the Triple Frost comps, without even considering Execute, and the Triple Frost comps are around the similar strength to a Zeke Faceless comp. Linghan Main DPS overtakes the Yulan Main DPS ever so slightly, on top of being more straightforward to fight. At a Dolphin investment level with A6 characters and no limited matrices, the Linghan comps are all much closer to each other. Claudia matrices perform better than Samir and Shiro, and make Triple Frost competitive with the Fiona comps at this level. When we step down to A3 characters, the Triple Frost comps start to outshine the main DPS comps, which are a nudge below the Faceless Zeke comp as well. Finally, at an A1 investment level with 0-star matrices, Triple Frost overtakes Flame as the most FTP friendly comp, though all the Linghan builds are fairly strong overall. Linghan is a very powerful character who maintains a similar main DPS potential across her advancements, as opposed to Yulan, who is extremely advancement dependent as main DPS. At maximum investment, both Yulan Main DPS and Linghan can perform similarly, but Linghan opens the opportunity for lower investment Frost to shine. And that concludes my Linghan analysis. If you're interested in a TLDR version, please check the link in the description where I cut all the explanation and just talk about the important bits. I'll see you guys next time!